Something big is happening in the world right now. It's not a war or a revolution, but if it succeeds, it could weaken the single most powerful weapon the United States has ever had: the dollar. For nearly a century, the US dollar hasn't just been money. It's been the operating system of global trade. And now, a group of countries is trying to rewrite that system from scratch. To understand how dangerous, or historic, that is, let's start with something simple: coffee. Let's say Brazil wants to sell a shipment of coffee beans to France. Brazil loads the coffee onto a ship. France receives it, and they close the deal. It sounds like a simple deal between two nations, except for one big question. What currency do they use? Does France pay in euros? Does Brazil demand reals? The answer is not so simple. Because for the last 80 years, if you wanted to trade globally, you didn't just need a buyer, you needed a mediator too. After World War, the world needed a currency that was stable, predictable, and widely trusted. And in 1944, at a hotel in New Hampshire, the United States offered the solution. Backed by the world's largest gold reserves and untouched by the devastation of World War II, the US dollar became that global anchor. It created a system where, even if Brazil is selling to France, the money takes a detour. It is converted into dollars, processed by the American Federal Reserve, and then sent to France. And banks communicate these transfers through Swift messaging system. Think of it as a WhatsApp group for global banking. Dollar in, dollar out. For decades, this wasn't just how we bought coffee, it was the plumbing of the entire global economy. But in 2022, the plumbing stopped being neutral. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the US and its allies chose not to engage with troops. Instead, they weaponized the banks. They cut major Russian banks off from Swift, and because those payments have to pass through New York, Washington had the power to freeze hundreds of billions of dollars in Russian assets overnight. It was a financial shock that hurt Russia, but it terrified everyone else. Capitals from Riyadh to Beijing realized something uncomfortable: that the dollar wasn't just a currency anymore. It was a leash. And if you crossed Washington, it could choke the economy of any nation in a weekend.
Our good trade relation doesn't have to use only the dollar.
For years, comments like these didn't matter. They came from a loose coalition called BRICS, an acronym that stands for the nations of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Formed in the 2000s, it was seen as a club with big ambitions but little coordination. But the 2024 summit in Kazan changed everything. This time, BRICS wasn't just an acronym, it was becoming a strategy. And their logic was simple. If US controls the money, then BRICS will try to control the resources. With this strategy in mind, the bloc decided to expand its reach. By inviting members like Iran and the UAE, BRICS now controls 44% of world's crude oil and represents half of world population. Those are some pretty big numbers to showcase the influence of the group. But the bigger surprise at the Kazan summit wasn't energy. In the meeting, Russia proposed a new surprise. You see, right now, even though BRICS nations grow over 40% of the global supply, the price of that grain is determined in exchange markets of Chicago. That means Western traders in Chicago decide how much a ton of Russian or Brazilian wheat is worth, which is also usually priced in US dollars. A BRICS grain exchange flips the script. It would move the center of gravity from Chicago to Delhi or Shanghai. Instead of Wall Street speculators deciding the future, the countries actually growing the crops would set the price benchmarks. And they could demand payment in their own currencies, not the dollar. If they pull this off, they wouldn't just control the supply, they would control the price of survival for every food importing nation. BRICS is gaining relevance, and the group now has the people. They have the oil, and they have the food. But until now, they were missing the final piece of the puzzle: a pipeline to trade all that stuff without ever touching a bank in New York. A payment system beyond the dollar. And that pipe is almost finished. Stay tuned for part 2 on how BRICS can change the world. And don't forget to subscribe to the Bright Kernel.